care, I'ma be a trillionaire like.
Welcome to the I Love Recruiting podcast with your host, Adam Roach.
Mr. J. Michael Manley, welcome, my friend.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing real well. So let me kick us off here. So welcome back to the Art of Recruiting and welcome to the I Love Recruiting podcast. I am your host, Adam Roach. So we are going to be live in the Art of Recruiting right now, Mr. J. Michael, and this is going to be recorded for the I Love Recruiting podcast, which will air next week. So introduce yourself, my friend. Who are you? You were born and then what happened?
Yeah, I was born here in South Carolina, so I'm native South Carolinian and moved a lot. And so, yeah, here I am in real estate, been in real estate now for 18 years. Ooh. And still, I always say just falling forward.
Falling forward. I love that. So
yeah.
Let's back up. So what'd you do 18 years ago before real estate?
I actually owned a foreclosure management company. I actually went around properties get foreclosed on. I'd go in and evict the people, change the locks, clean them out, maintain them until a real estate agent would come in and sell them.
That sounds like a fun job.
Nice. Not fun. I didn't have allergies before that, Like every foreclosure is like, there must be a blog post out there that says when your house gets foreclosed on, clean the entire refrigerator out and just leave one pack of chicken in there. Like that is the most disgusting thing ever in the world, is one pack of chicken sitting rotten in a refrigerator. Way to open up a podcast, right?
Yeah, we should, right? A rotten chicken. Open up the fridge. Okay, so we went from nasty chicken left in refrigerators to now 18 years to where we sit right now. So in those 18 years, walk us through some of the, what'd you call it? What'd you call it? Falling forward?
Failing forward, yeah.
Falling forward. Love that. And all your accomplishments. So you're a bold coach. You're a coach.
I'm no longer a bold coach any longer.
No longer a bold coach. Okay.
Out in December of 2019, I wanted to get back into being family dad, and really my boys were growing up, and so yeah, I just wanted to spend more time with them and get off the road.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, so have you done that successfully now?
Yeah. So I been back home and kind of reincorporated my life back into the family life as well. It's like when you're on the road, my wife used to say she was a stay-at-home parent and single mom, because I was on the road 4 or 5 days a week.
Right, for sure.
So, yeah, it's been good to get reinvigorated with the family and kind of she was handling all discipline, those kind of things. Dad came home on Thursday night, played with the kids, got them all hyped up, jacked up, and then left on Sunday again. So
on the road, that's tough, man. And I know you're a big family guy, so that's really important to you. Well, catch us up. So here's what we have here. We have, in the Art of Recruiting, we have a bunch of recruiters in there. We have real estate agents. The individuals who listen to the I Love Recruiting podcast are very similar. All industries are represented here. So we're going to go down in conversation here around business building. Let's go into some leadership, because I know that's important to you, and even some recruiting right now. So walk us down your path. So 18 years in the business. What's your business look like? What's your team look like?
Yeah, so started out, I've been, started out as an individual agent back in 2003 now. And first year, I thought I was going to starve to death. I think I sold 12 houses. And second year, sold 42 houses and did all of that through lead generation, expired for sale by owners. That's how I built my business, kind of getting it up and running. And did my own thing until, I guess, 2009, when I came to Keller Williams Realty. The market had shifted. Thought I was going to starve to death again. Even, at one point ended up homeless during that time. And, my power got shut off during that time at my apartment. Didn't have the money to even pay that. And so ended up having to move in with my in-laws of 4 months. And so, yeah, it was a little tough back then. And came to Keller Williams Realty. Tommy Stevenson, my team leader at the time. Dude, love that guy.
Tommy, love him too.
Yep. And he's like, dude, you got to get back on the phones. It's how you build it. It's, you got to do this. And
I'll pause you there for just 1 second, so everybody can hear what you just said there. 12 homes in your first year to 42 homes your second year.
Yes.
I mean, you 4x that almost, right?
Yeah. And I usually tell everybody, it's like, I didn't have scripts. Nobody told me about scripts. Nobody told me about anything like that. And so I was just calling people and calling them and saying, hey, can I relist your house? That's how I started. And it took me 1,300 contacts in the first 3 months to get my first listing. And the only way I got that listing was I was competing against the number one agent in my market at that time. And I was like, look, I got nothing but time to work on your property. I'll do an open house every weekend, which is what I did. My average market price at that point was like $140,000. This was a $220,000 house. Got it and sold it, and they became clients again.
Nice.
From an expired.
Wow. So hold on, I want to go back. 1,300 contacts, is that what you said?
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
1,300 contacts to get one?
To get one listing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody listening, you know what? Let's see, how can I say this politely? If you ever think about giving up right now, if you ever think about giving up while you're on the phone, screw you, because listen to what this guy just did. 1,300 contacts. That's a conversation.
Yeah.
To get one listing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I started perfecting that and started getting better at it, and then started getting some track record on expireds as well. And so the second year, I just continued to do the exact same thing, which was where I contacted 100 people. And this is back before Bold, back before any of that stuff, in 2003, and just started calling people. Somebody yelled at me one time and goes, dude, I don't want to relist my house. I want to get it sold. And he's like yelling at me on the phone, and, this light bulb moment pops up over your head, and you're like, okay, I get that. And so my next call was, can I help you get your home sold? My script changed. And so I just continued. I was still making those 100 contacts in that first year. And then that second year, I was still making the 100 contacts. I had just gotten better and had some track record behind me and had some experience to speak of, and had failed a lot. And so that second year, I remember June of that second year in real estate, selling 12 houses with no admins by myself. I took the next 2 months off. I was like, I'm done, right? The more money I made, most years, and I made that in 1 month. And so I was like, I'm out of here, right? Took 2 months off, and then I was like, oh, dang, this moves up and down. I gotta get back in there.
Yeah. Okay, so then keep going. So then you 2009 came, you became homeless. No power, no nothing. You had to move in with the in-laws. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so I'd gone through a divorce, owned a house, sold that house right before it went into foreclosure, moved into an apartment, met a wonderful lady, Vicky, my wife currently, and we were living in that apartment with my son from a previous marriage, and my mother-in-law came over, and while she was there, our power got cut off. And so, urgency kind of dictates what you have to do. And so we ended up having to move in with my in-laws because we just couldn't afford to even pay for our own rent or our own power bill for that matter.
Yeah. Did everybody just hear that? Urgency dictates what you have to do.
Yeah.
Right. Write that down, please. Urgency dictates what you have to do. Here's a man that, number one, 1,300 contacts to get one listing. Mother-in-law is in the house and the power gets turned off.
Yeah,
right?
she's with my mother-in-law for 4 months at that point. So imagine now she's thinking that her daughter has made this major mistake, and now this dude's moving in with her after they've only been married for 4 months.
Keep walking us through that. What happens next?
So we move in with her. We lived there for 2 years. I sit down with her and her husband, my father-in-law, and we said, look, I got to make a shift. I'm not making any money. At that point, I was actually putting in resumes like lead generating. I just would put in so many resumes a day looking for a quote unquote real job. And I sat down with them in the basement and we put together a Benjamin Franklin's list, staying at the same company I was at versus switching to the company I'm at right now, which is Keller Williams Realty. And when we put together the Ben Franklin's list, it just said, look, we got to make this shift. At that point, Tommy Stevenson had actually been coaching me for a month and never even asked me to come to KW. He was just coaching me, going and providing value for me more than my current company. That was a huge recruiting moment right there. Because he never once asked me. He's like, I'm just going to provide more value for this kid than anybody else. And it worked.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here taking some notes. go back. I think I heard you say something about Benjamin Franklin list. What is that?
Yeah, so you know, you take the old T graph and put pros on one side and cons on the other side and just go right on down.
Okay.
And that's how my mother and father-in-law kind of work. And they, you know, they had been in sales all their life and
Right.
had done very, very well for themselves in sales.
Mhm.
My mother-in-law actually used to sell the box, the corrugated box that, you know, the box when you'd order like the things that were in the TV guide back in the day. I'm aging myself. Um, you know, where you order so many CDs for $1.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she actually had the full contract to sell that box. She was the only one allowed to sell that box. And you imagine the millions of those boxes that went out, and she earned money on every single one of those boxes that she sold.
Good for her. I like that.
Yeah,
Ben Franklin list. Now I want to pause and let everyone also hear what Tommy did for you.
yeah,
So there is a recruiting equation that we talk about, and Linda McKissick actually taught it to me, and it is pretty much hers. It is relationship plus value and validity over time equals self-discovery.
yeah.
Here's Tommy giving you value after value after value after value, and not necessarily solving problems, just bringing value, right?
I mean, he wasn't really solving problems other than he's like, hey, we've got this thing called a 411.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, you know, let's put your goals on there. Let's kind of stay steady on that. And then what we'll do is we'll meet at Starbucks every week. We'll spend 15 minutes on it. I'll buy you a cup of coffee and we'll just kind of see how you're doing every week.
Right.
And that's what he did.
So, and in that moment in time, he's building a relationship with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And what did that make you feel when he was doing that? And I'm asking this on purpose so every one of our listeners can hear that this is truly the recruiting equation happening in real life. So what
Yeah.
were you feeling?
So at my other company, I remember my broker in charge coming in and she must have had a thumb at the point that looked like it was a foot long. She stuck it in my door. It was like, doing good, hang in there. And I'm like, lady, I'm freaking starving to death. Like this sucks. And Tommy was like, okay, so tell me how you sold 42 houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Discovery mode, right? How did you sell 42 houses? And I was like, dude, sold them all via expired and forced out by owners and referrals from those.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when was the last time you called her expired?
Mm.
When's the last time you called a force over owner? I was like, oh, you know, I really haven't. And he's like, you got to get back on the phones. Here, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna help you. I'm gonna help you hold yourself accountable through this 411 process. And that's all we did. He never once told me, you know, I was wrong. He let me self-discover. He never said that, you know, hey, I can solve all your problems. He's like, he knew where my problem lied, and he just helped me self-discover that along the way.
That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. And then what was the tipping point? So again, we're talking about recruiting now, but we're also talking about you. So we went from relationship building, now he's adding value. And that it didn't just happen overnight. There is that overtime period. What happened in that overtime?
You know, over time, I felt bad. Right, here's this guy coaching me, not getting a dime for it. I'm not paying him any money. I'm not at his brokerage, and so I ended up. That's what I said. You know, look, I've got somebody that's willing to help me get my business back up and running. Here's what they're offering, and I've got, you know, this other company that here's what they offer, and I'm starving over here. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when we just kind of put them both on a Ben Franklin's list and said which one's better. And I was like, you know, my last year at that other company, I would have made XYZ. This year, I would have made, this year at this other company, I would have made XYZ. I would have made like, you know, 20 some $1,000s more. That $20,000 more is a mortgage payment and gets me out of this house.
Right, right. So everybody, did you hear that last part of the equation? Overtime equals self-discovery. You self-discovered, right?
Yeah.
You self-discovered. I'm assuming you probably then came back to Tommy and said, hey, listen, let's rock and roll, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I came back to Tommy. I was like, look, man, you've been pouring into so much of me. And so I just wanted to let you know that I would like to transition my business over.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that, because again, that's a real life recruiting equation, everybody. Push pause, rewind, and go listen to that again, because that's exactly how it should be done. Now, let's go back to you, my friend. What happens next? So you come on board, you're at a new company, you're in a new environment, and what happened?
Yeah, so I just got back on the phones. Started getting back on the phones. Tommy would come in and go, how many contacts you made? He wouldn't like stick his finger in there. You're doing great. How many contacts have you made? Like, how many appointments are you going on? Like, he was executable items, like focused on me getting those executable items. And then in November of 2009, he come to me and he's like, hey, look, there's a class that's coming to Keller Williams Realty. Like, dude, you need to take this class. It's perfect for you. And I think it was only the second time it had ever been taught. So nobody really knew if it was perfect for anybody at that point. And yet he's like, it's perfect for you. And he's like, it's called Bold, Business Objective, A Life by Design. You should take it. I was like, fantastic, dude. I'm learning based. I'll do this, right? I'm all about learning new stuff. And he goes, it's $799. And I looked at him, I said, I live with my in-laws, right? And so he's like, dude, you got to take the class. I said, I tell you what, you pay for it and I'll pay you back on every closing that I get from it.
Okay.
He said, I can't do that. And I was like, well, dang, like, he's like, you pay for it and I'll pay you back on every closing that you get.
Interesting.
And so unbeknownst to my wife, in December of that year, I took the money that she had received from Christmas. I took the money that I had saved up for my car payment and I paid for Bold. She knows now it's okay.
Good.
and so, yeah, I took that money and paid for Bold. And again, urgency dictated what I had to do. I jumped in feet first and just did exactly what the Bold coach, John Prescott, told me to do at that time. I had no clue.
You had no clue, and yet you still got extremely resourceful.
Yes. Like, I mean, I even hired my mom. I called mom, like, I mean, call your mom and you say, hey, you want to go to lunch, right? She's not asking who's paying because I didn't have the money to pay. Right. And so took her to lunch and asked her if she would work for free for me because I was starting to get listings and I was taken away from my lead generation to put those listings in the MLS, right? Because for me to click those buttons, right? Just, most people are like, oh, I can do that in like 30 minutes or, 15 minutes. I can have a listing live. No. For me, it was 3 hours to get a listing live. And I'm like, this is like, I'm wasting lead generation time. So I remember going to the Bold coach and saying, look, I need some help. And he's like, I said, do I just hire a teenager in the afternoon to come in? Do I hire somebody? Like, what do I do? And he goes, J. Michael, you just figure it out.
Love it.
And so mom worked a part-time job. And she's like, hey, I can help you in the afternoons. I said, well, I can't pay you. And so she came in and worked for me throughout Bold for free to just enter listings and those kind of things. And then I got really resourceful. And then what I did is to pay her after Bold, I just paid her a percentage on every closing. She got 10% of every closing I did.
Got it. So watch this, everybody. So we go from 1,300 contacts for one listing. We go from having the power shut off. We then go into getting value from someone that kind of knew but didn't really know, and then learn from that individual, got into that individual's environment, and that individual continued to push you. Yeah. Right? The environment continued to push you, even so much that maybe you had to do a little bit of fibbing to take some money resourcefully and put it into a training class. Yeah. Gang, I want you to hear all of this because here's a man that not only was resourceful, but he also wanted to, he could see the vision that he was sprinting towards, right? You knew what you were doing. Yeah. You maybe were a little fearful, but you knew what you were doing.
Very fearful. And also tons of self-doubt in that time, growing up, tons of self-doubt, those kind of items, and never really realized how much that self-doubt held me back. And here was a guy, Tommy Stevenson, one that believed in me more than I really believed in myself. Here's a Bold coach that believed in me more than I believed in myself. And started kind of peeling back those layers of all this self-doubt that I had.
Right. So then what happens next? So you get through Bold, Business Objective, Life by Design, a class, you actually paid for it yourself. And now walk us through the next 12 months. What happens?
Yeah. So September of that year, I capped at Keller Williams Realty. I earned 100% of my commission. Because I capped, Tommy actually paid for me to go to Mega Camp. I'll never forget it. He put me in a room with somebody else, and this dude had the worst gas ever. Like I lived outside of the hotel room more than I lived in the room. And so I ended up going to Mega Camp. There was all these people on stage, and I remember Adam Hergenrother. I'll never forget it. He had white patent leather shoes on, white patent leather belt, and it had a Nike belt buckle that looked like it was as big as my head. And he wouldn't even sit up straight in his chair. And I was like, this young kid, like, he doesn't know anything that I don't know. And if he can do it, I can do it. And I
Mhm.
remember walking out of the into the expo center. And I mean, there's so many people that have poured into my life. There was a gentleman there that was on stage at the time, Keith Riddle.
Mm.
And Keith is like, it's like, hey, Keith, what website are y'all even using? Like, I don't know anything about this stuff. And he's like, he walked me over to the market leader booth, took me to a gentleman named Amir Asahi.
Mm.
And Amir sold me a market leader system, Realty Generator, right? At that point.
Mhm.
Now, I still live with my in-laws. I
Mhm.
just capped.
Mhm.
And I had no money,
Mm.
right? 15, and it was 15, or I think it's $1,500 a month. Maybe it'd been $1,200 a month back then. And I remember I was like, the very first day I signed up for this program, and I said, do not turn that paperwork in until I speak to my wife.
Mhm.
And and so I remember finally getting the nerve on the last day of Mega Camp, like they're shutting the market leader booth down. And I got up the nerve to call my wife, and she just, I don't know what was going on that day. She was at a convention as well for her work. And she
Mhm.
goes, if you think you can make it work, just do it.
Oh,
And that's literally her words. Like,
that's
and it was not like, honey, I believe in you. You can do this. It was like, if you think you can make it work, just do it.
right.
And so I ran downstairs and said, Amir, turn in the paperwork.
Mm.
And at that point, Market Leader was paying for a program called IMSD, which was Internet Marketing Specialist Destination, that was coming from Ben Kinney
Mhm.
and Chad Himes. And
Mhm.
I took that and ran with it.
Yep.
And I remember at that mega camp, I had a list of 8 things that I wanted to accomplish coming from that mega camp. And Adam sent me, like, he was using ComF5 video email stuff. Like, he sent all that to me. And I'd never been in an environment where people were openly sharing what they were doing.
Right.
And so I started using all these things. I had everything that I wanted to accomplish, like hire a buyer's agent, do all this stuff. I had all that stuff done in 60 days. I had given myself, I said, I probably can get it done in 4 months. And so I gave myself 2 months to actually get it done. Again, creating urgency to
Mhm.
get stuff done so that there's not a day where I can say, I don't have to do anything today.
Right. So I want everybody to hear that. So it goes back to urgency, but I've been circling 3 things here, J. Michael. Number 1, you stayed in a place of curiosity always.
Yeah.
You're always open to asking questions to whomever it was, whether it was the bold coach, whether it was Tommy, whether it was Adam, whether it was the market leader guy, curiosity. And then I wrote down here, take action.
Yeah.
Right? You are a very action-oriented person, even when fear is either in the way or you can see it, smell it, or taste that fear. You're still taking action.
Or all of the above.
Okay, now let's go this. Okay, so now let's fast forward for a few years, right? Because I'm assuming you probably went to Bold a few more times. And how did Bold, becoming a Bold coach, how did that enter into your world?
Yeah, so going through Bold several times, I saw, like, I went from, being homeless to now having a team that was doing 154 transactions back in 2013.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was a quick, like, in that first Bold I took back in 2010, I actually wrote on a piece of paper that I'd be on stage with Gary Keller.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing about me that should be on stage with Gary Keller back then. And yet I wrote it down. And so 2013, I was on stage with Gary Keller.
I think I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Gary Keller called me, I did a call with Gary Keller. I had no clue why I was doing a call. And it was actually an interview that was actually going on to Agent Mountain. That was an interview process to see if I could be on stage at Mega Camp.
Gotcha. So here's an event. So hold on, I'm gonna go back to this. So 2003, we're doing 12 transactions. 10 years, fast forward, we're doing 154 transactions.
Yeah, lots of failure in between there.
I mean, the gang. Here's what I also want you to hear, because again, go back and even pay attention to your own 10-year growth period. What have you accomplished in that 10-year period? Here's a man that's gone from 12 transactions, lights turned off, 1,300 contacts for one, all the way to curiosity, taking action, and environment to 154 on stage with probably one of the most smartest guys in the real estate space, right? And here you are. Now what happens? So fast forward 2013, what happens next?
2014, everybody at this point is like, we want you to teach. We want you to teach. So I kind of step out of my business. I put somebody in place to kind of run that business. And I start teaching. Well, then that allowed an opportunity to become a bold coach. And so when I became a bold coach in June of 2015, I went on the road full time and, was hitting it hard. I mean, there were literally weeks that I'd be home for 2 days and then fly back out. And that was with 3 kids.
If I remember right, you came to Charleston and you were our bold coach, and I had pushed my market centers to take bold 3 times that year.
That's right. Yeah.
3 times. I think we got some people.
I was a third coach.
You were the third coach. And here's what I want to share with you. And I'm super duper grateful and appreciative of that. I was doing it just for the agent's sake, to keep pushing, for them to keep growing. And then I believe it was that next year that I was awarded from Diana to get to go to Ireland, because I had the most people, the top 3 people to go through the bold program, and our market center blew up, right? We went from $300 million in production in 4 years. We did almost $1 billion in sales.
Yeah.
And that was because of your leadership and your coaching there. That's awesome, man.
Those other coaches did an amazing job as well, too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now here we are. It's 2021. What's J. Michael Manley doing now?
Yeah, so I've always kind of put somebody in place as kind of a recruiter for my team. And when I was on the road, I didn't really get to see the team a lot. I didn't get to participate in team meetings, those kind of things. And every single person I've ever put in that role, I've kind of felt like I've lost my culture. Like I lost that culture of lead generation. I lost that culture of let's just, whatever it takes, let's just go make it happen. And so this year, I'd hired a recruiter 2 years ago, and her sole job was to recruit. And she was recruiting. Like I won't say that she wasn't recruiting, yet what I found is people weren't staying. Like they were exiting as quickly as they were coming on the team. And so we saw, it was like, we need a boot camp, right? We got to do some type of boot camp. And I'm attempting to do this from afar. And so we kind of started a 10-day boot camp, and we would cover contracts, and we'd cover all of our tools, all of our systems. And then still nobody was lead generating. Like they'd finish the boot camp and there was no lead generation going on. And so in January of this year, I let my recruiter go at the end of January. It was hard. Like I knew I was getting ready to get this job back. Again, urgency though, that was a big salary for me. And so yeah, it was tough. And so I let her go. I stepped into that role. I was now the sole recruiter of the team. Okay. And switched the boot camp to where now our 10-day boot camp, we cover lead generation in the mornings, and we get them on the phones, right? They're calling expireds for that whole first week. And they're doing it by just logging into Vulcan 7, no auto dialer, just dialing the numbers, so that they feel the pain of all those ones that don't answer, all those ones that are on the do not call list. They feel that pain. And then when they get one, they're like so excited. And then every afternoon, all we do is cover the listing presentation. Every afternoon, we cover the listing presentation. On that Friday of that first week of boot camp, they do the listing presentation for the team. They present. Yep. So they've been with the team 5 days, and they're already presenting a listing presentation.
So back to the basics. You take them all the way back. Here we are, 2021 in real estate. It's completely different than what we used to know back in 2003. And you're still at the basics.
Yeah. And then the second week, we start for sale by owners. We put them on the auto dialer. And when we put them on the auto dialer at that point, they go, wow, this is amazing. There's no, like they honor it. They love it. They're grateful for it. And then in the afternoons, we cover the buyer's consultation. And then on Wednesday, when the boot camp is over, they present the buyer's consultation for the team as well.
Do you have, and just curious, and I know I did not ask ahead of time, do you have that 10-day boot camp spelled out somewhere?
Yeah, we have it fully written out. Like it's who you're with, all of that. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. Would you be open to sharing that?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Okay, so gang, if you hear this and you want this and you're watching right now in the Art of Recruiting, go ahead and put in there that you want this. Just type in the comments and we'll send it to you, because
I got to give credit to Matt O'Neill.
Mm.
You know, he's just on a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And we went down to Matt O'Neill, and I think I drove my whole team down on October the 28th of 2020. And
Okay.
we spent the whole day. This guy just opened up his operation for us and spent the entire day with us.
Right.
And it was amazing, right? I mean, just completely amazing to be able to see that operation, because that's the model. And, you know, at Keller Williams Realty, one of the challenges I have is they teach the market center to recruit agents.
Right.
Right. They teach the teams hire the top 100%.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? When one of your top ones leave, they're taking a few of them with you, and you get left holding the bag, which is the bills every month.
Right.
Yep. And so I talked to Mark Spain. I've talked to Matt O'Neill. And then in 2018, I did Tony Robbins Mastery University. Keith Cunningham, which is Gary Keller's business partner. He's like, dude, your tools, your systems, all that stuff is not your asset. Your agents are your asset. When you own a service-oriented business, the people that work for you are your asset. You don't need more tools. You don't need more systems. You need more assets.
So true.
And I was like, wait a minute, Gary Keller's business partner, that's what they're doing in the market centers. And yet they're teaching teams to do something else. Mm. And so that's when I found Matt O'Neill through Tony Robbins. And so we just I was like, that's the model we want to run. We want to recruit 2 agents every single month.
Love it.
With a 50% retention rate.
Love it. And I believe I saw you posting the art of recruiting, because we just had that question, where are you month to date? And I think, did you say 3?
So 3 year to date. We had 2 in January. And they started that last week of January. And then I had 1 in February, and she's finishes up boot camp today.
Excellent. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's awesome. Well, let's do this, because we're right here on time, and I want to keep everybody on time. Everybody, if you have any questions for J. Michael, put them in the comment section right now. We'll answer those. How can people find you? By the way, you came to Charleston. You didn't even give me a call. I mean, come on.
Know, right?
You're right.
Man, I took my whole day, man.
Unbelievable. Matt, I tell you what, Matt, you took my man away from me. Matt's a good guy. Love Matt, love him to death. Actually, I just re-listened to that podcast today. That was a good one that you did. So how can people find you? How can they follow you? What can they do to learn more about you, J. Michael, and your business?
Yeah. So number 1, Facebook, J. Michael Manley, Instagram at J. Michael Manley. And you know, those are really the big ones to find me at. My email address, of course, is jmichaelmanley or jmichael@jmmteam.com. And then if you've got anybody looking for the upstate of South Carolina that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, we're here to help and be of service. Make sure you get a referral check.
There you go. Upstate of South Carolina. That's some good area up there. Well, my friend, my brother, I really appreciate you today. This has been great, great value. Whole page of notes right here. Excellent stuff. My biggest takeaway is stay in curiosity, take action, and understand that your environment can, will, and does matter. Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Everybody, this has been real. I see everybody posting. We've got a bunch of ins here, my friend. So if you just want to go to the Art of Recruiting and put it in there, I don't know if you have a PDF Word doc, throw it in there, and they can have it that way.
Yeah.
Or you can send it to me and I'll send it to everybody.
Yep.
Yep. But everybody, this has been J. Michael Manley in the upstate of South Carolina. Send all referrals to him. My name is Adam Roach. I have been your host, and we will see you next time in the Art of Recruiting. See you. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.